Welcome back to another Spirit Island video. In this video, I'm going to be beginning my Shifting Memory of Ages, the Intensify guide. And in this video, we are going to be covering an overview of the Spirit. Now, looking at the first side of the Spirit board, the setup is going to be 2 presents on your starting board in the highest numbered land, that is sands or mountain. Get out the elemental markers. You're going to prepare a moon, air, and earth marker. We're going to talk about markers when we discuss the special rules. Now, this first part of the setup is really important because where you, depending on the board that you choose or that you randomize, it will vary which is the starting terrain. So sometimes you'll start in sands, sometimes you'll start in mountain. This is a commonly forgotten rule by players. It is a moderate complex spirit, and the summary of powers is listed below. Very low offense, a little bit more control and fear, more defense, and the most utility. And it says, as you draft majors, this summary of powers is going to fluctuate. Now, memory is a major style spirit. This is when they designed the spirit, that's the goal, or that was their original intention. And the way that they created rules to build around that vision, you have these 2 special rules: long ages and insights into the world's nature. Now, the first one says, whenever you forget a power card from your hand, you may instead discard it. Max once in action. And this is my favorite memory rule. I just think it's really cool. So if I'm going to gain a major power, when I gain that major into my hand, I can then choose to forget a card, and instead of forgetting, I discard it. So I can discard the major I just gained. That's a really cool little thing that some people miss. Or I can just discard another card. So instead of forgetting the card, I discard it, and this allows me to continuously increase my pool of cards in my hand. Now, it says whenever you would forget a card. So this is going to affect any of those events. Whenever you're forgetting cards for events, such as, let's see, a good example would be like Lesser Spirits, where I have to forget cards to gain the plant markers or the plant elements. If I were to forget Boon of Ancient Memes, I can then instead discard it via the special rule. Now, it does say once per action, so if I have multiple plant cards, I can't just discard all of them and count them as forgetting, but hopefully that makes sense. But a very cool, flexible special rule. It also works with cards like Starlight's Power Boon. It says target spirit may forget a power card, but with memory, you can just discard it. So, really cool. Now, the other special rule is where those markers are going to come in handy, and it says insights into the world's nature. And it says some of your actions let you prepare elemental markers, which are kept here until used. Choose the elements freely. Each elemental marker spent grants you 1 of that element for a single action. So, what's going to happen is you're going to create elemental markers. Either you're going to start with them, or you're going to gain them with the right innate or your tracks or cards. The markers stay here. And then let's say I want to spend markers to threshold majors, or at least that was the intention. So if I have a sea monsters, if I have 2 water and 2 animal, get those. So I have 2 water, and then I also have animal. I can choose to, at any point, spend these markers to count as or I guess to count as a single element for an action. So I'd be able to use that on my sea monsters. So memory can store those elements and then can spend them for those big, heavy hitting majors. So like Rumbling Earthquake, literally any major in here you can threshold, and that is the point of memory. That's what you're trying to do, or at least that's what base is trying to do. So let's look at our growths. We are a 1-1-1-0, and what that means is we're placing growth on 3 growth options, and then we have a huge energy boost growth option. Our first is a reclaim with a presence placement of 0. Our next lets us gain a minor power or major, as well as placing presence, and our final lets us gain a little bit of energy and placing a presence at shorter range. Now, this 9 energy button, I think it's win more. A lot of times I never use this button, but it's nice to have it because there are going to be cases where you pick up that overpowered cast down or that really expensive major, and most spirits, they just will never be able to play it. Like if I'm playing Fangs trying to play cast down, like that's just not going to happen. But memory can easily play it with a by choosing that G4, and then when you combine that with your special rule of storing markers, you could threshold that major and win the game. So I don't like taking this, but there are cases where it's pretty darn good. And the main reason why I don't like it is you're not placing presence. Of course, 9 energy plus a presence would be super broken, but like not placing a presence means you're going to delay how much cards you're going to be playing throughout the game, and you really do feel it. Okay, looking at the tracks here, we are ending at 6 energy and 3 plays, and look at that. This is the first spirit that I'm really diving deep on that only has 3 plays. Well, I guess Fracture does as well, so maybe maybe this is the second spirit. But your top track, you have 2 spots that let you prepare markers. That means every turn that that's uncovered, you get to prepare a marker, and that goes over here for your special rule. And then you have a nice reclaim 1 spot, and then you end at 6 energy. These 2 spots tend to have no text, though the 4 energy is definitely going to matter, and I'll discuss that a lot in my cards video for special builds, especially the 3. Like these 2 spots have a lot of value, and then sometimes you might even just go to the reclaim 1 because then you never have to reclaim. You just can reclaim that major that you really want to slam every turn. Now, looking at bottom track, you ended 3 plays. That is on the lower end of the spectrum. Remember, 4 card plays, that is your gold standard. Now, memory does have an extra space here that lets you discard markers to gain extra plays. Unfortunately, I think this is it's in a really awkward spot, or at least you might be able to argue that memory's plays track is so well designed, it's not just an auto move down plays. But you really feel it to get to this 3 plays, and spending markers to get extra plays, it feels so bad. Now, there are cases where you're going to do it, but like I said, it's just that doesn't feel good to do. Now, you have 2 innates. You have the left innate, which is just this raw defensive innate, and then this right innate, which is going to create more markers. The left innate is going to give you defend 2, instead defend 3, and then if you have this crazy innate, you get instead defend 2 per card in the invader discard pile. This text tends to be win more. I never really get it. You don't really need it. I'm sure there's going to be games where it matters, but most games it's not going to matter. So I wouldn't try to actively hit this innate, because if you're hitting this innate, you either need the 4 card plays or you're spending a ton of markers for it. And I think if you're going to be spending markers, you're better off just thresholding majors and destroying the invaders rather than trying to get a few extra defend in the land. Now, like I said, the right innate is going to create markers. The first threshold just creates a raw elemental marker, and then the second threshold is one of the reasons why I don't like playing base memory is it's so tedious. It says, instead, after each of the next 3 actions that change which pieces are in target land, prepare 1 marker. So what ends up happening is every fast phase, I'm going to, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. There we go. So every fast phase, I'm going to use this right innate. I'm going to choose a land, and then every time an action occurs in that land that changes the pieces, I gain a marker. So I'm trying to pick a land that I am going to guess has 3 things happen to it. So like maybe I'm planning for, like, let's say it had an explore here, right? And I'm planning, okay, maybe it's going to build. Maybe I can move to Hanan, like with share secrets. I might have some down here. So like, let's say it builds, I get a marker. And then let's say it explores again because we're in stage 3 or stage 2. I get a marker. And then I use share secrets. Or I guess share secrets is fast, so I would have done that first to get my first marker. But you guys get the point. Basically, the right innate is forcing you to constantly like look at the board, try to figure out lands that have multiple actions occurring in them. I just find it to be unfun. I'd rather this just be gain 1 marker, gain 2 markers, gain 3 markers, something like that. But it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so memory has 2 aspects. The first one is going to be the mentor aspect, and mentor is going to replace a special rule. It replaces my favorite special rule, so goodbye long ages. And it also replaces the right innate. So at first I thought I would really like this aspect because, man, I did not like playing with that right innate. but it ends up doing another change, and that says whenever you gain power cards, draw 2 fewer and gain 1 more of them. So what this means is when I gain minors, I just grab the top 2 cards of the minor power deck. It then says on the innate, you may put a power card from your hand or discard into target spirit's hand. If you have the second threshold, that spirit may play the card. If you have the third threshold, that spirit may repeat that card by paying its cost once. And then the last threshold allows you to gain markers based on the cards that you're giving, and then also just random element markers. So what this is going to do is turn memory more into a support spirit. You're going to be giving out cards with that mentor, and ideally you want to give cards that you're drafting to the spirit that it impacts the most. So like study, the mentor combo with darkness, like being able to give darkness, study the invader's fear, does so much for darkness and can do some crazy things. And I suggest you guys check out my darkness mentor video. But this is a heavy combo based spirit. Now it's going to be worse than base memory at dealing with its own board, and that is because it's gaining fewer cards. Now you might be saying, wait, no, you're gaining more cards. Well, no, not really. You see less cards because you're looking at the top 2 cards of the deck, which means because you're seeing less cards, you're gaining less cards. You're not able to find those good cards. So you're digging through the deck at a lot slower pace, and the chance of you finding that cast down is cut by 50%. And like honestly, that's one of the strongest things about base memory is like you can find cast down, you can find vigor, you can find those overpowered majors and threshold them and throw them at the board. And mentor is like, nah, you really can't. The chances of you finding those is gonna decrease significantly. Now, of course, the way that the spirit gets boosted is because you can combo with other spirits very well. So there is that compensation that you get. I do think mentor is better just because some of those combos are so busted. And like I mentioned, the darkness combo is one of them, but like roots, like mentor roots is a really strong combo as well. So there's plenty of different combos with the mentor aspect. Now, I don't like playing mentor, just like I don't like playing base. So you'll never see me play those on the channel again, just because I find them to be just not interesting. Now, Intensify. Let's talk about this guy right here, because this is one of my favorites. Probably, I would go as far and say it's my favorite aspect in the entire game. It is just a blast. So you're going to lose insights into the world's nature. So that means when you prepare those markers, or I shouldn't say when, it means that you can no longer spend markers to amplify or to get those thresholds anymore. So you have to actually get the elements on majors to threshold, and same with innates to threshold. Now in exchange, you get this little table, and it says you may spend your markers to modify your actions, maximum 1 of each marker per action. And you guys can read the table here. So Sun lets you add Strife and Badlands. Moon lets you remove, replace pieces. Fire is damage. Air lets you make a slow power fast. Water lets you move a piece. Mountain lets you increase, or I guess Earth. Earth lets you increase the defense of a defend card by 2. Plant lets you add 2 wild / 2 destroyed presence. And animal lets you add 1 disease or 1 beast. Now, the card must have these effects in order to get modified. So I can't just give Badlands to a card like Share Secrets, because there's no Badlands on this card. Now, I could move an additional piece. In that case, that would be a Dahan if I spend a water marker. Another example, I'm just going to pick a card off the top of... Actually, we'll go with Sea Monsters here. It's like with Sea Monsters, I can spend an animal marker to add an extra beast. So now Sea Monsters reads adds 2 beasts. Oh, that is not the beast symbol. I'm so confident when I pressed that too. I was like, yeah, 2 beasts. All right, so we got our 2 beasts. So that's going to be 6 damage because I spent that animal marker. Now I might say, okay, I'm also going to spend a fire marker. So now it will be 6 damage plus 1 for the fire. So it would be 7 damage total. Now it says you're only allowed to spend 1 of each marker per action max. So I can't spend 2 animal markers to boost the card. And in my next video, the cards video, I'm going to go through all of the majors and pretty much all of the minors and discuss how this Intensify aspect can modify them and some of the broken things that you can do with it. Now, that's not all. Um, you get a free moon element and a free any element every turn. This is so huge for the spirit because now it means you're pretty much always hitting both of your innates without having to play your cards that have those elements. And I should go back and say one of the big weaknesses to playing base memory and mentor memory is you're stuck on 2 plays for pretty much the whole game. Like by the time you hit here, you're at 6. You're going to be at that will be turn 6 is when you finally get there, or turn 7, and you'll be at 2 plays. So hitting these innates, or I should say the only way to hit these innates is either you're spending markers or you're drafting on element. And spending markers on these innates, it's bad. Like you're spending markers here, you're spending markers here, you just don't want to do it. With Intensify, you pretty much always hit the innates for free with the bonus moon and the bonus any. In addition, this any lets you also pay elements for thresholding majors, so you still kind of get a little bit of a boost when trying to threshold them. Now, I do think Intensify memory is the strongest memory. I think the overall, well, I think overall it's definitely stronger, but I'm thinking like, so the big boost that base memory has is you can pick up cast out and threshold it. You lose that when you're playing Intensify. So that is a slight weakness, but Intensify is able to boost the spirit in so many other ways. One of the, I guess the last thing that I'll cover in this video is on the spirit board, you have defend 3 here. Well, if I spend my earth marker, that's now defend 5. So defend 5, that will cover 3 Russian explorers, which normal memory can't cover. Defend 5, that will cover Explorer Town City, which is very common in a lot of adversaries. Defend 5, that's going to cover 2 towns and an explorer from France. So Defend 5 goes, or against Habsburg, once again, 2 towns and an explorer without an adjacent town. So there's a lot of like just having this earth marker to boost the defend on top of always getting the defend, it significantly boosts how the spirit performs in matchups and makes it significantly more consistent, right? You're no longer relying on trying to high roll those overpowered majors. You can just have a consistent defensive base to minimize your blight as well as build towards majors. And I'm going to show that in the next video as well as the cards video. If you like this video, like, subscribe for more content. I will see you guys in the next video.